Okay, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee. I do know I have a piece of physical therapy tape on my mouth over here on the jaw area. That's to hold the magnet in place for the tooth problem that popped back up on a lesser level. I got up this morning, everything was fine, and I got some hot coffee that went on that broken crown area, I think is what caused it. And it started flaring up again, and I prayed, of course, and I'm asking you guys to pray that the Lord heals this once and for all, whatever's causing it. My guess is the crown is letting hot and cold in and bothering the nerve, but nothing's too hard for the Lord, so please keep praying that my problem with the tooth and the nerve and the jaw area goes away. Okay, I don't have any signs of infection at all that I could detect. There's no inflammation, no fever, no temperature. It's not hot or anything. Also pray I could find, I have a kit for emergency tooth repair where I can put some filling stuff inside the broken crown. Pray I find that, please. I'm going to go to work on that too. So I appreciate your help and prayer. And yes, I'm well aware I have this here, and I just told you why. Okay. It does seem to help. I don't want to get into a whole diatribe on magnets for healing, but you could research that if you want. They're very cheap. Amazon sells them. They're extremely inexpensive. Having some challenges with the chargers today, but I think it's the wiring, the extension cord I'm using or something. I got it resolved right now, though. Pray the chargers hold up. But I'm charging both devices. They should be fine. I don't think there'll be a problem. The devices are good. I think it's just something with hang on a second. Someone sent in something about a prayer request. Somebody prayed that there's some family members that are on a trip to a demonic country with a lot of idols. Well, every country in the world is demonic with a lot of idols, okay? And they didn't want these people to bring back demons. So I put out a toss request for these people, which is to throw the unclean spirits out of them. And apparently it did something, because one of the two is kind of blown up. Okay. So it's, in my estimation of doing this for several decades, the one that blew up had a demon, knowingly or unknowingly, possibly knowingly, and blew up at the other one because it lost the demon, and this is a normal reaction. You can't really pray that somebody wouldn't bring a demon back with them, because if a person gives place to the devil or wants demons because they're in love with them, then you can't really pray against that. That's not the remedy. The remedy is Mark 16:16, which says, "These signs shall follow those that believe in my name. They shall toss out demons from people." So that's what we did. That's the correct measure. Now, it blew up. Imagine if these two people continued and got married, and one of them was serving the unclean spirits, hosting an unclean spirit, and the other person didn't know about it and wasn't doing so, what kind of a horrible marriage you would have. You would not have a nice relationship, especially if the person not hosting the demon wanted to serve the Lord. The other one would be stopping that with witchcraft, sorcery, spells, enchantments, and so forth. So we want to pray for the, let me get this straight. The initials are, what I'm asking for, what they're asking for is KG, Kilo Girl, KG, Kilo Girl, to not be sad with MP, Mike Papa. And I think we're asking for MP to be, no, for KG, Kilo Girl, to be happy and content and safe on the trip. Okay, so KG should be happy on the trip, and the trip should conclude correctly, and KG shouldn't be sad with the other party, which is MP Mike Papa. It's kind of a very hard prayer request to deliver because it's so complicated, and we want them, well, there's some sort of a marriage proposal in the hopper here, and the person is asking me that the marriage would proceed, but I don't know if the person, when listening to it, really wants the marriage to proceed, because it appears that KG lost their demon that they liked and is blowing up. That's my interpretation. Whether or not these people go to a church is irrelevant completely. So it's a very complicated situation, and I think the person requesting the prayer is upset with me, but I think what happened is the Lord is showing them the reality of what is going on. That's how I'm interpreting it. So that's the best I could come up with. It's a complicated situation, and that's why I generally ask people to keep the prayer request simple. The other problem is that a lot of people are listening to this while they're driving, working, taking care of the kids, doing different things, and complicated prayer requests could be a lot harder for them to pray for you. Okay, so the simpler, the better, I guess. But I had no intention of upsetting the person that requested this. I just do what I'm supposed to do, and I use my discernment. That's that. Okay, so repeating again, yes, I know I have black physical therapy tape on my face here, and I explained it's to keep a magnet on there. Okay, let's make sure we have a live stream. Let's make sure we have we seem to have a good live stream. The bad ones haven't come in yet. I think they wait for me, and then they put the stuff up, so I'll bushwhack them and ambush them early on so I can dump them out quickly. The big channels get plagued by these people also. I've heard this. They're not necessarily Satan bots. They're just people that had a very bad upbringing and get great pleasure in going around in chats and insulting people, especially Christians or believers, I guess. I have no idea, but they're not anybody to be taken seriously. And don't respond to them. Don't put any chats up to say you shouldn't do this, and stuff like that. Because you just don't want to give them any attention, and I'll just silently block them. I live in Israel, in the Galilee. I'm a Jew. I'm a Levi, a descendant of Aaron. Does that answer your questions? Okay. Let me put my posts up while people are coming in, which really doesn't take any time at all. Of course, there's always people that are going to go away, and that's fine. They're not very interested in much, are they? I have issues here because I have to go back and forth from the iPad to the Samsung. One's, iOS and the Apple, and the other one is Android. So gives me, I'm still trying to learn both keypads and figure out which keypad I'm on. So slows me down a little bit. Okay, let me just get my email address up and we'll get going. My tooth is starting to feel really good now, or the nerve or whatever the heck it is. So I guess somebody's been praying. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, people are coming in. It looks like things are working. All right, what we're going to cover today is Iran and Trump. Iran played into the negotiations with Trump, with Iran. Trump played into the Iran negotiations, and Netanyahu, I'm sure, warned him against this, but he did it anyway, and why? And that's what I'm going to answer today. What happened yesterday, Saturday, is Witkoff went over to Oman, met with the guy, the foreign minister from Iran in Oman. They were in separate rooms using a guy from Oman to go back and forth from room to room. And they briefly were together for 2.5 minutes. I think this might have been at the end of it. It lasted about 2.5 hours. We don't know everything that was said, but we do know that they're going to continue the negotiations next Saturday. So Iran is 100% dragging this out. There's no doubt in my mind, and there's no doubt in Netanyahu's mind. And anybody who lives in the Middle East and follows this knows what's going on. It's being dragged out. Okay? And Trump is not the village idiot. And why is Trump playing along with this? That's the question we're going to answer today. And it's going to be shocking. And I researched it rather well. And a lot of people are going to reject it, and they're going to reject me. But remember what the scripture says: cursed be the man that trusteth in man. And right now, there's at least 50 million people in the United States that are trusting in Trump. Not God, Trump. They're not sitting there and reading the Bible and saying, I've got to get right with God. They're sitting there and saying, oh, Trump's going to save the day. and you know it's true. One of the big kind of prepper survivalist channels, it's a rather substantial channel, there are bigger ones, is got the right perspective about Trump and is saying things like, well, I don't know if Trump will ever attack Iran now. He may just sign some flip-flop flipping deal with Iran just to be done with it. And that could be true. But there's other things that I think are going on that I'm going to bring out to you. And, you know, a lot of people don't believe America's the daughter of Babylon. And I've been talking about this since, I think, 2013. And it started spreading on the internet around 2008. And it is the daughter of Babylon. And they just failed to reject it. I got a SBot that hit me with another false doctrine the other day. I want to caution you about it. The way this false doctrine works is, well, I think that God changed his mind. So the written prophecies, you know, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Malachi, all them, oh no, God changed his mind. He's not going to go through with those. See, that's a doctrine of demons, okay? That's never going to happen, okay? Ever, 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 ever. That would make God a liar, right? He prophesies something's going to come to pass and then it doesn't come to pass. Whatever the reasoning behind it is, okay, doesn't matter. So that's to instill doubt, okay? So when you get characters that do this, ignore them, block them, you know. There could be an innocent that buys into it, and then I would say once or twice explain to them why that's not the case, and if they keep it up, just go away. You 2 times, you go to them, and then drop them and toss them. Teach the demon a lesson. You're not, you know, the demon will go out of him, and then tell the demon he could never go back in him again. So then this person could be walking around with the same demon for 10 years or 40 years, literally, or more. And now they got to adjust to another demon. They don't like that. And then you do it again if you want, and again and again and again. And what happens with these people is they very frequently go for Zoloft, Prozac, Johnny Walker, Jim Beam, marijuana, street drugs, other drugs, because they start to realize the Bible is true. How could their demons be gods if you, little old you, at a great distance could command the demon to come out of them and never return to them again? You could also tell the demon to never give this person any explanation as to why you left. And you can command all the demons to not do that. And that adds the problems for this person. Okay. The scripture for them wanting other demons to come back in them is they return to their own vomit, basically. They see these things as a blessing where they're really a curse. Okay. All right. Let me do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right. So one thing I want to lay out is we are in end times. By the way, volcanoes are up and earthquakes are picking up pretty significantly. Okay. The King Kong, killer earthquakes, we're not seeing a tremendous amount of them. When you look at the fire map, you see fires are increasing in America now, all around the place. Okay. And I'm thinking, it's a good idea to do spiritual warfare against all those that are attempting to put spells, enchantments, witchcraft, sorcery on the other listeners to the channel, because they do that. Okay? For sure. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices. The church world, all 2 billion of them are, obviously. So Trump spent billions of dollars, no doubt, moving all this equipment and ships and planes and troops into the Middle East, and now he's backing down. Obviously, he's backing down. Oh, you hate Trump. I'm calling it as it is, guys. I'm not hating Trump like that. I'm telling you what he's doing. He's backing down. It's obvious, okay, that he knows Iran is stalling and he wants to stall too. What is it that's doing this? There's 3 things. Okay? And I'm going to take you on a deep dive into the Iranian weapons systems that they already have. And I'm going to give you in great detail the problem. And a lot of you are going to say, oh, America is so powerful, they can't do it. No. These are the last days of America. Okay? Trump's not being successful. Look at the value of the dollar dropping. Iran's breaking sanctions all over the place, selling. I mean, China's getting what, 80, 90% of their oil from Iran. Ukraine hit what's called a Russian nuclear facility or a plant, I think nuclear energy, last night or yesterday. And it was a successful hit, I believe. So there's so many people that are going to sit there and tell you, oh, Iran, Russia's winning the war. They're so powerful. Hogwash. Hogwash. Ukraine attacked and knocked out, well, they may be rebuilt now, 25%, maybe even 30% of Russia's oil refineries. Don't sit there and talk trash about how Russia's so powerful. Where the heck is that power? We've been raised and taught for decades that Russia's so powerful, so people would put money into defense spending, particularly in Europe and America. Okay? Where's Russia's power? I don't see it. They lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers, billions and billions of dollars of equipment, and they're still, after 3 years, and you're going to tell me that Russia's afraid to use all its might? I've never seen a single country use a nuke. What happened in Nagasaki and Japan were not nukes. They were firebombs, like Dresden and Hamburg just before. Fuel bombs exploded in the atmosphere and caused tremendous fire with a blast. And the damage looks identical to what was done in Tokyo, which was firebombs or fuel bombs. The cherry blossom trees in the blast area regrew the next year. They didn't die. The leaves and stuff got blown off, the blossoms, but they regrew the next year. How curious. A bank building right at the blast zone, in the outer parts of the blast zone, had their windows blown out. But there was a brick building. The bricks didn't melt or blow away with 3,000-degree heat or anything like that. They put new windows in and opened for business, and nobody was glowing in the dark. It's nonsense. The houses were made of wood and paper. They're easily burned. It's all nonsense. Why you're going to tell me these people respect mutual destruction? Are you kidding? Are you serious? Come on. These people are out of their tree. They're nuts. They don't respect nothing. If China had nukes or Russia had nukes, they wouldn't give them to Iran or North Korea. What are you talking about here? Come on, put your thinking cap on. Okay, so the first problem is Iran's missile cities, of which there could be up to 12. They're not sure where they are. These things are down about 1,640 feet below. Now, how are they doing this? They're doing it by burrowing into the sides of mountains. Okay? 1,650-foot mountain is not a big mountain. A 3,500-foot mountain is still not a big mountain. Okay? That's how it's being done, because they have a lot of mountainous regions. And these mountains are small. A 2,500-foot mountain is nothing. I used to go hiking on Mount Tamalpais in Marin County, California all the time. I climb up, I hike up to the top and go back down on the weekends just because it was a pleasant experience. That's all. It's not a big deal. You don't need a 11,000-foot mountain to do this. Okay? The mountains that they're using have rock in them, and they're finding natural caves, and they're digging out the caves to make their missile city. Okay? Now, how do they get the missiles to launch from Missile City? They have two ways. Okay? I told you it's a deep dive. One is vertical silos. Okay? It's an opening where the missile just goes up straight and then changes direction as needed. Okay? So they just punch the silos in. From where they are, they go up through the mountain and they break out, and then they launch them out from there. Now, the mountain's usually shaped like this, so they go out on one of the sides of the mountain, you know. The other way they do it is these mountains have typically 12 exit and entrance, the same thing, exit, entrance, openings where they could go in and go out. They put 12 of them in one missile city, and they have about 12 missile cities, it's estimated, in different locations, and they're not next to each other. So if you blow one up, it's most unlikely you're going to get another one with it. They have a rail system inside this missile city that can transport the missiles with the launchers out the entrance, and then the launcher sets up on the ground, and then they launch from outside. Now, the vulnerability to these missile cities is as follows. When they launch out of the silos, plural, because they have several, these silos they probably have some sort of a cover over the silo to stop it from being detected that they have to open. They can probably do that remote control, or they might have some guy there with a crank and it's got chains and they pull it on a rail, or I don't know how they do it, but they open up these silos, and there's multiple silos, and they fire the missiles. There's going to be a heat signature of a massive degree that America or Israel or another country could lock in on and attack and destroy the silos. This is a real vulnerability that they have. But what they also have is they have an ability to reload these silos in rapid succession, sort of kind of like a machine gun with belt-fed ammo. So the silo launches one missile, and then another missile, they have machinery that brings it in and sets it up for launch, and it launches in rapid time. I don't know what rapid time is. It's probably not 10 seconds. It may be 2 or 3 minutes. What about the heat from the silo bothering the missile? I guess they thought of that. I don't know what the time frame is. So they could get multiple launches off from each silo before the silos get blown up. And each facility in the mountain is going to have multiple silos as well. And they got thousands and thousands of missiles in these things, generally intermediate and short range. They also have missiles on mobile launches that drive around. They have their own radar too. So that's a difficult situation because you can't spot the missile launchers. They're not stationary. So if you see the truck at 11 o'clock in the morning, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it could be 100 miles away. Probably wouldn't be, but if it's 3 miles away or something like that, it's plenty good. And they can park it under trees, in a barn, in a camouflage covering where they have camouflage nets with shrubbery and stuff on it. It's a lot of things that can do. Okay. The Moab 30,000-pound bomb is good for going down through 200 feet of earth. Okay. Not 1,640 feet. Now, some of these might be down 1,100 or 1,200 feet. Some might be down 1,900 feet. But they're burrowing into mountains, looking for natural caves. That's how they're doing it. And these things are, they have like a road, a tunnel type road that goes in, and it's got reinforced concrete and beams probably made out of steel or something to keep it up. And they put layers of thick concrete, several feet thick, heavy, strong concrete, reinforced rebar or whatever. And that's to, if the missiles do get down that far, they think they hit the actual facility and blow up against the concrete. So they put layers of concrete in there above, quite a bit above where the actual roof of the missile city is. All right. Now, what you're going to see is a non-nuclear method of mass destruction taking place here. But I want to finish giving you the rest of the moving pieces that Iran has. They're alleging they have a plasma weapon. It's not for a gun. This thing sends a heat wave, a burst of heat out that's in thousands of degrees. Okay? I guess it depends on the distance and things like that. And the idea is it's supposedly radiation based, and it would incinerate people, probably melt buildings and tanks. I don't know how many degrees it is. It might be 5,000, 6,000, 2,000. I don't know. I think it's probably at least 3,000 degrees. The Pentagon seems to acknowledge they've been working on it and they might have it. They made an announcement, I think, in February or March. So this is another issue that may or may not be motivating Trump. Okay? Do they really have this? Now, they have developed stealth drones, the Iranians. These drones are powered by a jet engine. They're somewhat smaller than a fighter jet, and a fighter jet's not that big. These are smaller. And they can shoot missiles, and they can be used for reconnaissance, and they're designed to work on the Iranian drone aircraft carriers, which they take a container ship and convert it to carry drones. They have large elevators on the side of the boat. So from the interior of the boat, they would drive drones onto this elevator, and the elevator goes up to the deck of the boat, and then they take them off and they launch them. The deck has a curvature up. So for a heavier drone, it will launch, and it's probably 40 to 60 feet above the waterline, more so than a flat aircraft carrier deck like America uses. So if it goes off and it drops a little bit, it won't go into the water. And the range of these drones is about 520 miles. They could stay afloat. They could stay in the air for about 520 miles, which is a few hours, I think 2 hours or something like that. They can retrieve the drones back on the aircraft carrier. They have cable systems like an American aircraft carrier. And apparently the drone has a hook, and they land it and it hooks the cable and stops it. So apparently they have two runways on the aircraft carrier, one with the ramp up to launch, and you wouldn't use that for retrieving, and the other one, it would be flat with cables to capture the drone for receiving it. Now they have several ships they've modified to be drone launch capable, some more advanced than others, but they could put the stealth drone on the others, I expect. As far as I know, Iran has no stealth warships. And I think stealth warships are only partially stealth, which I would interpret to mean if you're close to them, you'll pick them up, but at distance, you might have trouble getting a good lock on them or something like that. They're not full stealth. So yes, America's B-1s, B-2s, F-35s, F-22s are not readily detectable by Iranian radar at all, and they could get in, okay? So they have missile cities, stealth drones set up to go on ships, but I'm sure they could launch them off the ground too. And they allegedly have some kind of a plasma weapon. Yeah, they don't have much in terms of an air force. They don't have any good jets. They don't have stealth jets. I don't believe China and Russia have any good stealth jets either. They claim to have missiles that can go about 1,200 miles. They did manage to get missiles to reach Israel twice in the past, but mostly were shot down, but some did arrive. Can America take out the radar of Iran before Iran can use these missile cities? Now, in addition to the missile cities, there's 3 islands that Iran has by the Straits of Hormuz, which is near where that's that pincher point that ships got to travel through to leave or enter the Persian Gulf right by Iran. And they have islands there, and they've installed missiles on those islands. So the vulnerability in these missiles for long-range work is obviously radar. So can the United States get in there and take out their radar? Well, they have really worked hard and long on their anti-aircraft missile defense systems. And the word is they cannot take out the F-22, the F-35, the B-1, and the B-2. But they can seriously damage an F-18, an F-16, or an F-15. The F-35s would fly in with most of the bombs contained inside the fuselage, but outside the fuselage, they might be carrying other weapons like missiles that would track the radar beam and blow the radar up, and extra fuel tanks. So while they're out of the range of, now the anti-aircraft missiles are generally, they might detect out to 200 miles, but their range is usually no more than 100 miles or usually less. So they're not going to be able to take out the American F-35s, let's say, just because they know where they are, because when the F-35 hangs fuel tanks and munitions outside the fuselage of the plane, it reduces its stealth capabilities significantly, and it can be picked up. Could a missile lock be put on it? Well, that I don't know for sure. It would depend on the distance, how the plane was, what it was hanging outside, the fuselage, and all these other things. But picking it up is one thing. Being able to fire a missile at that distance is lacking. So the F-35 would stay out of the range of their air defense systems. And it would probably fire the missiles that it had hanging outside rather rapidly before it spent any time within the firing range of these anti-aircraft missiles, and would drop the fuel tanks. So when it got to the target, it would empty itself of things hanging outside of it, use the missiles appropriately, and then, because they can go with the anti-radar missiles are basically cruise missiles, and once they get a lock on the radar, they can be launched at a pretty substantial distance away from the anti-aircraft system range of the Iranian anti-aircraft systems. A lot of words. And then they would dump the fuel tanks, and then they would approach inside Iran when the radar's out and probably drop bombs or fire missiles, probably bombs from inside the plane. So when they got, into Iran, they would be stealthy again. That's just worth understanding. So what you have here is a classic Mexican standoff or a stalemate. Trump is nervous about what can happen. And I'm going to tell you what can happen, but I'm going to take a fast break for a minute, and then I'll be right back. Okay, what is America afraid of? Once they start attacking, Iran's going to start launching thousands of missiles and drones from ships, from mobile platforms that launch missiles. They'll launch sleeper agents in Europe and America or wherever, and they will be able to attack Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan, using Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, and themselves. It's a little over 100 miles across the Persian Gulf. I think from these islands, the distance is somewhat reduced. So you need short-range, intermediate-range missiles. They have mobile launching trucks that have their own radar that's probably good enough to get the missile there. And they're very difficult to take out because they're moving. They don't stay in the same stationary place. So your intel is worthless. An hour later, your intel's garbage because the missile took a trip and went 25 miles. All it has to do is go 3 miles, 4 miles, but it'll go more because it doesn't want the plane coming to the old spot or the drone and seeing the new location. So if it was 8 or 12 miles away or something like that, it's probably safe. They may go further. They may go 30 miles. Iran's a big place. And they hit the American bases and they hit the oil refineries. And the Houthis in Yemen are threatening to take out the oil in Saudi Arabia again. They did 2 successful hits since October 7th. And they were minor hits, 1 missile the first time and 2 the second. And Saudi Arabia was able to rebuild the refineries in a week or so. But what if they kept hitting them, with 3 or 4 missiles a day, every day? So they keep rebuilding and then they keep getting new hits. What happens to Iran? What happens to Saudi Arabia? Well, the Aramco oil facility and other facilities go down the tubes. Then they hit Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar. Now, America has a very large air base in Qatar, which is just on the other side of the Persian Gulf. It can be hit easily by Iran, but America probably had 200 cargo planes fly into Qatar recently. So it has a lot of anti-missile systems, but you just got to get 2 or 3 to pass through. Bahrain has a big Navy base. So they start hitting the oil refineries, which it seems they can do. And with the quantity of the missiles they have, they're going to cause chaos in the Middle East. And you're going to see oil go from about $60 a barrel to $200 or $300. Some people think even goes to $500. It'll bust out the economies of everybody. Russia doesn't care. They have their own oil. China doesn't care because Iran will keep selling them the oil at a low price. And then in turn, North Korea gets it. Venezuela has their own oil, and Cuba, I don't think anybody cares about. Belarus will get oil from Russia if they need it. This would cause nothing but economic destruction in the West, Europe, and North America. Complete devastation. People would not be able to go to work. It's too expensive. Everything moves with oil. Ships burn diesel. Trains burn diesel. Airplanes burn oil. aviation fuel, cars, motorcycles, buses, everything, ambulances, fire trucks, police cars. Sure, America has reserves and they could cut other countries off from getting their oil and just dedicate it to themselves, but that hurts the other countries. And when the other countries go into economic chaos, well, they're not going to buy American goods because they're just going crazy with oil. So would Trump turn the entire world against him if he pulled a move like this? And yeah, I mean, Iran did something like that, the world would blame Trump for it. And that could cause the attack and invasion on America from many different countries in Jeremiah 50:51. Also, Isaiah 47 makes us think that it's possibly going to suffer economic collapse before it gets to the invasion and attack. Now, Iran can take these stealth drones and put them on container ships that don't look like they've been modified to be an aircraft carrier, and just get the drones out on the deck of the boat, which could be done through some sort of elevator or something, cranes or whatever, and start launching them while they're out of the American, limits, which is 25 miles. America considers their border 25 miles into the oceans. So there is a threat against America too. And if it's a stealth drone, see, America doesn't have Iron Domes and arrows and missile systems and, anti-missile systems and Patriots and THAADs and all that set around the borders of America to protect the country. They don't protect the big cities or anything like that. Maybe they protect the Pentagon, the White House, a Boeing plant, a few places, military bases, but that's about it. Let me look at the live stream and see if the bad ones came in yet, and I can get them out. Okay, so I have some of this dental temporary filling thing. I got to find it in the house. So I asked the people to pray that I can find it easily. Uh, am I Orthodox? No, I'm Old Testament, New Testament believer. Yeshua, the Messiah, Father God, Jehovah. Not Orthodox. They follow the Talmud, not the Bible. I don't pay attention to the Talmud at all, nor the Kabbalah, nor the Tibetan Book of the Dead, nor the Quran, nor the stories of the young Buddha. None of that. Okay. So what is Trump up to? Well, one of the big purple channels said Trump's just going to sign some nonsense treaty with Iran and the nukes and leave it go. And that's that. And that could be true. The other thing is Trump is buying time himself, and he's waiting for some further weapons development or anti-weapons development on the part of America and Israel to enable them to attack the missile cities. See, if you attack the nukes first, then the missile cities give you destruction. So it's now stupid to attack the nukes first. You've got to attack the missile cities first. And that's rather complicated because Iran's counterattacks would likely bring economic chaos to the world, which means Trump's dynasty and empire with his billions of dollars of properties and stuff will go down the tubes. And he doesn't want that. The people in America don't realize they have a conflict of interest with a billionaire president and with Elon Musk, who's almost a trillionaire. They don't understand that these people are only going to take actions to protect and preserve their dynasty, their holdings. They're not going to destroy them. Yeah, Trump could give his paycheck to charity and all that. Whoopie-doo. What's that mean? Nothing. Nothing. People are continually leaking stimulus packages coming to people in America, and I have not heard anything official on this. It may happen, it may not happen, I don't know. Are they talking about it? Definitely. The Congress is talking about it. I haven't heard anything specific about it. And I think there's so many false rumors flying around, I don't even bother reading it anymore. It's a waste of time. People are doing it for clickbait, that's all. People are, hoping and praying they get a $2,000 check or $5,000 check. Now I was reading $485 check. I mean, I don't have any idea what's going to happen. Okay. Probably something, but who knows what and when and all that. The dollar's down. That's trouble for Trump. Okay. That's not something he's looking to do right now. That's not consistent with his beliefs. So what do? Well, Trump obviously is buying time himself. The Iranians are buying time. They want more radar. They want more drone launching ships. They want more weapons, more stealth drones, more this, more that. So they're in buying time mode. Okay? It's going to happen. It's in Jeremiah 49. It's Elam, and it'll be destroyed so bad all the people leave and scatter into all the countries of the world where the sword follows them and they get cut off. Will Iran do a launch against Israel, hoping America stays out of it? Nah. No. Not the way America's loaded for bear. See, if Iran pulls the trigger first, let's talk about what America can do with or without Israel. America can attempt to use the 30,000-pound Moab bombs, mother of all bombs, to destroy their nuclear facilities, but they would never start there because while they're destroying their nuclear facilities, which are not really harming anybody at this time, the other missile launching capability of Iran is going off at the rate of hundreds, if not thousands, an hour. So the emphasis would be on their missile cities and their other missile launchers. That's where your emphasis has to be. And to do that, you got to get the radar out. So you have to have a very planned, synchronized strike with many aircraft, probably in the hundreds, to get it. It's so stupid. While I'm doing a live stream, this Samsung posts a software update notice and blocks the screen. I mean, I am not going to buy any more Samsung products. The Samsung phone I got, I still can't get it to give me a version of YouTube that works with live stream or works at all. So I'm going to have to restore the phone to the condition it came from the factory and then redo everything. It's just so absurd. I tell you, would be a better move to buy the iPads again and just understand they got a real maximum life of 18 to 24 months, and you got to replace them because their electrical systems are crap. But I'm finished with the Samsung. It was a really bad move. It gives you good sound, it gives you good picture, but it's so obtuse and not intuitive and stupid things. Imagine popping up. I believe it interrupted the live stream for a stupid software update. What kind of moron device is that? You know, the Apple stuff doesn't do stupid things like that. Maybe I got to do something in the settings regarding notices on top. I think it's an idiotic thing. So that's the stalemate that America and Iran are into. But what America can do is destroy the oil refineries in Iran. Not just the oil refineries, the ports and the piers that they offload the oil and natural gas onto ships for delivery. Can America do that? Rather easily. They'd have to take out some radar, send the stealth, or just send the stealth jets in, which would not be targetable by the radar of Iran, and just blow them up. And then you'd only have to blow maybe 2 of them up or 3 of them. And that's the end of their oil industry and their natural gas industry. And then you could hit the pipelines. And then if you want to go in for greater effect, you take out their radar, and that would take a day or two. And then you start hitting their electric power, their reservoirs, their bridges, their regular tunnels for transporting goods, railroad tracks, military air bases and civilian air bases, because they could modify those to use military planes. But you're just really trying to get rid of their cargo planes and the above ground military bases and other things that you think are of importance, and you would cripple Iran. Actually, all you have to do is hit the oil refineries and the ports and the piers that are used to offload and unload the oil, and then just go away, and the Iranian economy will collapse. No doubt about it. Okay. China might get mad, but China's going to get the reality of the situation that Iran's no good to them anymore because they can't deliver the oil. They don't have the ability, and if they rebuild the refineries, they're just going to get hit again. Okay. Now, in return for this, Iran will launch from their missile cities thousands of missiles and destroy the Middle East. So they have each other locked in a stalemate. Iran doesn't want to see its economy go to nothing, and then it can't support its proxies. And America doesn't want to see its bases get hit, its warships get hit, and its allies in the Middle East, in the oil-producing countries, get hit, and oil refineries destroyed, oil pipelines destroyed, and maybe ports and piers as well, and then oil prices go through the roof around the world, and the world will blame Trump for this, undoubtedly, and likely Israel. Is Israel going to go along with Trump's not delaying and attacking Iran and playing the negotiation stall game? Yeah. I have no reason to believe that Netanyahu is going to fly off the handle and attack Iran without Trump's blessings. And I don't see that at all. Okay. Now, the other things we could talk about is Trump waiting for the other two aircraft carriers to arrive in the Middle East. The Carl Vinson is here. People are saying it'll reposition their Iran. I'm not sure what they're doing with that boat now. It was in the Red Sea. They said it was traveling to the Mediterranean. That's not next to Iran, so I don't get that. It's probably going to work its way going down under Yemen and come up in the Indian Ocean and around the Sea of Oman and meet the other Navy ships there, while the Truman aircraft carrier will probably remain in the Red Sea, unless both of them are going to stay there and the other two are going to go to the Persian Gulf. I'm not sure yet. They've been attacking the Houthis for almost a month, and the Houthis shot two missiles or drones, whatever it was, last night at Israel. They were taken down before they reached Israel. We're having 100% takedown rate, but that's because the amount of weapons they launch at one time are very, very minuscule, one or two. If they were launching dozens and dozens, it would be a little bit more difficult. Not that we wouldn't get them all taken down, it would be harder. So they have not stopped the Houthis yet. The Houthis do have underground facilities, but you have to understand that Iran is probably 10 times or 20 times better fortified than the Houthis in Yemen. Okay? It's no match. The B-2s have been used, and I believe a B-52 also have been used in Yemen, and they're still operating. So Trump and the Pentagon have gotten the reality that the same thing would happen in Iran. They'd be every day bombing Iran, and at the same time, Iran would be attacking the American oil producing countries and their refineries, their American bases, their own bases, and everything else, which is likely going to happen because it says Elam, which is Iran and Iraq and parts of Syria, will be destroyed by her enemies in the plural, so it'll be multiple. So based on Bible prophecy, I do not believe that this is going to just stay in a perpetual Cold War stalemate. Trump has bargaining power, and the bargaining power that Iran needs is release of sanctions. Okay? And that's why Iran is willing to dance this dance with America. If they could do something to get Trump to let up the sanctions on them, then they could trade oil and make a lot of money, back their proxies more extravagantly, give them more weapons, and, create more problems in the world. Is Trump dumb enough to go along with this? I would say 99%, because he's going to play the I hope game. I hope things get better and we could come to war against them another day and win. Right now, it would be a mutual destruction, not America destroyed by Iran, but the Middle East being destroyed by Iran and America destroying Iran. This is not acceptable with Trump, because America will suffer from this. All right. So things are very sketchy. and they're not so good. And then when you're dealing with them, yeah, we'll get together next Saturday and do it again. This is not real negotiations. This is delay. Okay, there's no doubt about that. Anybody that follows, uh, the Middle East here, that lives in the Middle East, is well aware of this. We know Iran, and we know how they operate, and this is what it is. Okay, I'm going through my notes now, see what I left out. You really need to understand that if oil prices go to even $150 a barrel, let alone 300, the economies are going to crumble like crazy. Oh, there are some more prayer requests here. Okay, RG, prayer request for RG, Romeo Girl. RG, Romeo Girl, healing from a bad cold. And SG, Sierra Girl, and JZ, Jack Zebra. SG, Sierra Girl, and JZ, Jack Zebra, to have a restored relationship. And I'm getting in another prayer request for KG and MP, which we prayed for earlier, KG, Kilo Girl, and Mike Papa, MP, for healing in their relationship. Okay, so those are the extra prayer requests that I need to cover. I think I covered this. You could take 8 or 10 or 12 Moab bombs, which have precision pinpoint accuracy, and keep dropping them on the same place in the mountains on top of these missile cities. And you might get somewhere with that, but you might not. I don't know. I don't think America knows. I don't think anybody knows. And it may not work. And when you start doing it, they're going to open up and launch missiles. It's always about the oil, isn't it? In the late 1800s and very early 1900s, they had cars that were running on water. You can research it in YouTube and you'll see them, and they'll actually show you them work. They had a water tank, and you use very little fuel, gasoline or kerosene, I believe, to create a fire and heat the water. And they were running with water. Railroads used to run with water too. They'd use lumber to build the fire and boil the water and make steam. And then they had electric cars also. In early America, in the early 1900s, they had plenty of electric cars. And then it was Rockefeller that got everybody off on gasoline cars. And it's been a mess ever since. Now, America might be working on a new type of bomb or weapon to blow these missile cities up. And I don't know what they're going to talk about. 100,000-pound bomb next. I have no idea. Probably something that burrows down and then delivers a 5,000, pound blast or something like that. Guys, I'm at a loss. I don't know what they're going to do. They're not going to do a ground invasion. No. The thing that I'm not so sure the Pentagon and Trump have really a good understanding of is that these Iranians see what's happening as great weakness on the part of America. And you can't show these people weakness. When you show them weakness, they move in on you, and that's what they're going to do. It's going to get worse with Iran. Rest assured. They see weakness here, and they're going to push forward. I don't know exactly what they're going to do. Right now, they're bringing weapons to Sudan, and Sudan, they're flying them into Sudan, and Sudan is putting them on ships and bringing them to Lebanon to give to Hezbollah. The Lebanese government has now said they occupied most of the bases that Hezbollah had in the south of the Litani River in South Lebanon near Israel. Well, big deal. Hezbollah evacuated the bases already because we would be attacking the bases. So what the heck was accomplished? Next to nothing. Yemen, the government of Yemen says they're going to raise an army, recruit an additional 80,000 soldiers, and they have perhaps 67,000 or something like that now. I don't know. I think the Houthis outnumber them close to 2-1. So they want to add another 80,000 soldiers, and then they're going to drive the Houthis out of this big state region in Yemen. Well, okay, so you're going to draft or incite with cash bonuses people to enlist for 80,000 people. How long is that going to take? A few months? Then you take them in and then you have to train them, right? So to train them superficially could be 3 months. To get them serious, 6 months. That ain't going to work. That's the country of Lebanon and the country of Yemen simultaneously trying to fool America and Israel. That's all that is. So the big takeaway is don't think these missile cities are just dug down in the ground. They're not. They burrow into side of mountain. You know the end times nuclear bunker in Colorado they fly the presidential planes to periodically and stuff, right? Well, that's what Iran did. Same thing. So don't start thinking the Colorado facility is impenetrable, but the Iranian ones are. They use the same model, apparently. Trump still has to deal with BRICS, and that's not finished yet. So Trump has to be careful because BRICS wants to destroy the dollar and the euro. So I'm not really optimistic that anything is going to happen with Iran, except I think Trump wanted to buy time, and so did Iran. So that's why it worked out. And Netanyahu's a little frustrated. I'm not so sure that it's a real threat for Iran to be able to hit Israel from these missile cities because that requires large, substantial, over the horizon type radar, which Israel would be only too happy to destroy. Can you use chemical and biological weapons against the missile cities? You could. They probably don't have filters on the air intake. They got to be sucking air in, right? Somehow. And they got to have pipes and fans and generators to drag the air in. All you would be doing, you wouldn't harm the facility or the missiles or the radar. You would just harm the people, and they just put new people in. Wouldn't do much. I don't think it's viable, and it'd be difficult to get the chemical and biological agents delivered down that deep. You'd have to get it into their air intake system, and it could happen, but I don't think it's a viable plan. It doesn't give you an end game. It just gives you a delay. You know, they can't use the missile cities till they replace the personnel and clean the air out or something. I don't think it's viable. Trump definitely wants to see Iran stop supporting the proxies, and Iran definitely doesn't want to do that. And Iran lies and says, oh, you know, we're not supporting Yemen, and they are. If Trump gets frustrated, he might unleash on them and destroy their refineries, their ports, and their piers, which would be the beginning of the end of Iran economically. It would be nothing short of catastrophic for them. And he can do this with or without the help of Israel in a matter of hours. Israel can do it without the help of America, too. If Iran does attack the oil refineries, you could only imagine what the stock market will do. It'll go down by not 7 or 9 or 10. It'll probably go down by 30, 40% but they'll close trading. And trading may not open up for a long time. I mean, it would be a real catastrophe. So what's going to happen next week on Saturday? More of the same. They'll sit and they'll talk, and Iran will come away and say, America treated us with respect. We're so happy. And Trump will say, there's hope. We could have a deal, you know, that kind of stuff. And it's going to drag. But America's still it's still bringing in cargo planes of various military equipment. And so I don't know. I mean, Trump has a viable alternative, and that's to destroy the infrastructure, the power of Iran, the ports, the piers, the airports, oil pipelines, refineries, many things, and just wreck their economy and wreck the country. But he's going to have to take them attacking countries and in the Middle East and military bases. The Iranian stealth drone, by the way, has a name. It's called the JAS, Jack Alpha Sierra 313. And it has, like I said, it has a jet engine. It goes a little over 500 miles, I think 520, or it's about a 500-mile range, which is quite a bit, but it moves at the speed of a jet plane. Okay. So it's probably going someplace between 400 and 700 miles an hour. Maybe, let's say, like a cruise missile, 550 miles an hour. So drones don't normally ever go near that fast, nowhere near it. So if it's really stealthy and it goes that fast, it's a very, very destructive force, because it's going to be hard as heck to take down. You have to try to get a visual or something. Them installing these stealth drones on their disguised container ships, it makes it even deadlier. So they could approach America and be 163 miles offshore and launch stealth drones that could travel to America, attack targets near the coast of America, like military bases, and then return back to the carrier, although it would be suicide if, well, no, the drone is stealthy. They won't track it back to the carrier. They won't know where it came from. I think when the stock market crashed a few days ago, it scared Trump pretty badly. And Iran hitting oil refineries in the Middle East will make that stock market crash look like a minor dip. And that's going to get your gold to at least 4,000, if not 5,000. And your silver will probably get up to $75, $100 an ounce. And Elon Musk marches on, streamlining, as they call it, the government. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 4, sent to me by a subscriber. 1 Peter 5, verse 4. 1 Peter. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, you shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away. Okay. The next scripture is worth something too, but not on that topic, but let's hit it. And it's a good one, really. Likewise, you younger, submit yourselves unto the elder, yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility, for God resisteth the proud, and giveth grace to the humble. Remember, he told Paul, my power is, more prevalent with your weakness. The weaker you are, the more powerful he can be with you. So, in other words, if you run around, flying around in a big jet and you got all your pride, it's always going to be based in money, the root of all evil, and he's not going to want to work with you. But when you have your everlasting life and you're in redemption and you come out of redemption, you're redeemed, then you'd be wealthy and rich because he puts the law in your heart and your inward places. And they shall all know me from the least to the greatest. That's in Jeremiah 31. And you will be able to handle it then, because the plan is you're the head of all the nations in Israel. And that's, if you're a true believer in Yeshua, forget going to the churches, that's meaningless. If you're a true believer, then you'll be coming to Israel. See, the church is got no idea what's going to happen. All the churches, the Catholics, Pentecostals, evangelicals, nominal, all 2 billion of them, all 3,500 denominations, don't have an idea what's going to happen. They have no idea. America's going to go on forever and be a great place. Okay? Trump's going to save us. Trump's not doing anything to restore the people in America to God. What's he doing? He had a Muslim do a blessing at his inauguration, and people still, oh, he's a Christian, he's a great guy. Would you have a Muslim do an inauguration, a blessing at your inauguration if you were a true believer? God resists the proud. Is Trump proud? Is Trump a multi-billionaire? Does he have many mansions, airliners for a private plane, and all this other stuff? Yes, he does. He does. They have no idea that the believers are going to live in Israel. They read this and, oh, it'll happen in the future. It'll be the millennium. You see, because in the millennium, in their doctrine, they become gods. They go up to heaven while Israel gets the tribulation and gets their head cut off. Then after Israel's severely kicked to the curb after 2,000 years, roughly, of punishment, well, we'll kick them to the curb again. That's the doctrine of demons. They come back as gods with Yeshua and reign over Israel with a rod of iron. So they never see themselves as being an Israelite, although Yeshua calls the believers his brethren, and he's from the tribe of Judah. What do they think? He converted to Christianity and started going to divisive churches with varying doctrinal statements? That's what they think. I mean, what do they think? I don't have any idea what they think. It's ridiculous. And they have no idea of this. They don't know there's a great exodus coming. They don't know Yeshua is going to appear in the clouds seated on the right hand of power, which is Father God Jehovah. And in Revelation 1:7, every eye shall see him. They don't know that. They don't know that he's going to pour his spirit out on Jerusalem and the house of David in Israel in Zechariah 12:10. And then they're believers and they look at Yeshua. And John 6:40 says, if you're a believer and you see him, you will have everlasting life. They don't even know what everlasting life is. They don't believe any of this. They don't even know any of this. They are so lost. And that's why I keep telling you the churches are going to fall apart any day now. Where are they concentrations of them? Well, Canada and America are thick with them. Mexico to Argentina is thick with churchianity. Asia is thick with it. Where? Not so much in Japan. South Korea much. Taiwan much. Australia has a good amount. The Philippines, oh yeah, they got them there too. Australia, they got them there. Okay, North Korea, it's communist dictator, very little. What am I leaving out in Asia? Guam, I don't know. It's not a big place in terms of population. Inside China, there's believers in China, but I don't think there's that many. It's rather well suppressed. There's some, though, for sure. Let's take a look. Let's see how many, let's call them Christians in China, because that's the only thing Google's going to understand. True believers, they're not going to understand. Amount Christians in China. Oh, it made a typo. How many Christians in China? Well, I'm shocked again. 44 million Chinese Christians registered with the government. You got to register with the government, and your church has to be government approved or licensed or something like that. So there's quite a bit in there, you know. I didn't realize it. That's churchianity. That's not true believers. Remember that. Russia's got a bunch. Middle East, not very much, really. A little bit here and there. Africa has a bunch. It's very, very popular. Let's see what we get when we punch in how many Christians in the world 2025. Uh, 2.64 billion. 2.64 billion out of what, 8 billion people. Broad and wide is the road to destruction, and many find it. Straight and narrow is the real path, and few find it. See what I'm saying? But you can't talk like that to the church people. They won't believe it. But it's a scripture, but they don't believe scripture. Okay? They deny it all the time. But it's going to fall apart because they're going to see all the bad things happening to their countries, like Jeremiah 30, verse 11. He's going to destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into over time. And Amos 9:9 says he scattered us into all the countries. So the nations are going to go down. They're built up on Satan. All their governments are serving Satan. It's all going to fall apart. All the currencies of the world are going to be gone, I believe, except for gold and silver, which is not a currency. It's a precious metal. I don't see diamonds built up in the Bible very much. The colored stones, the beautiful colored stones, seem to be more precious in the Bible. I think the diamonds is a hype from the Beers family, and they promoted them up, and they've got probably several 40-foot containers full of diamonds. Probably got enough to fill 3 or 4 of these containers or something like that. And they don't sell them at the same time. And you go to the jeweler and you buy an engagement ring or a wedding ring or an engagement ring, and let's say you get a 1-carat stone in a gold setting, and you pay, I don't know what you pay today, but you pay $1,800, $2,200, and you go to sell it back. They might not even buy it at all, or they might give you $100. Just then put it out for $1,200 or whatever. I don't know. They're worth precious little. The differentiations would be, if you had a 1 carat natural that wasn't been treated with heat or radiation, a red diamond, a bright red diamond, that might be worth $1 million or something like that today. Yeah, you're going to find a lot of buyers for that. And they're not going to, if you paid, let's say you bought it 5 years ago for $250,000, it's worth $1 million today. And you go to a jeweler in New York or LA or Beverly Hills or Miami or someplace where there's a lot of rich people, or, or Moscow or London or Zurich or whatever, right? Paris. They're not going to tell you they're going to give you $25,000 because you're an astute player. They'll ask you how you get it, how long have you had it, where did you buy it, and you have to have the answers, of course. And they're going to try to pre-sell the stone before they buy it from you. Okay? And they probably can. They could take photos of it and send it to their key players. And, they'll say, well, it's of this quality and that quality, and it weighs this much, and it's this big, and this is it. And if he's got to pay you $1 million for it, he's going to probably sell it for 1.2, 1.4 million, make a tremendous profit. These guys are chazers. The jewelers are chazers. A chazer is the Yiddish word for pig. I think it's chaz. It's almost the same as Hebrew for pig. They're pigs. They rip people off. They rip them off. They try to make themselves out to be nice, reputable, trusting jewelers, and they rip you off. Do they lie about the rating of the stone or the carats and the gold? No, that's fraud. They go to jail for that. But they all are crooked, and they keep the prices high, the whole lot of them. And I'm so happy now that synthetic diamonds are out there that you can't differentiate the difference between. They can't test the synthetic diamond and tell it's not a natural grown diamond, that it was made in a lab. They cannot test it. What they're relying on is the people that make the stones to put inside the stone a tiny little laser imprint that will have probably a serial number and say that it's a synthetic diamond. Now, they're making these in third world countries initially, like China. Now, tell me, do you believe that the Chinese people making these synthetic diamonds are really putting this imprint in all of them? Or do you think they're making pocketfuls of them and giving them to people to travel with around the world and have them set in rings and necklaces and bracelets and stuff and sell them as real diamonds? I'm rather sure they're selling them as real diamonds. Do you think mafia and cartel people don't get their hands on the equipment and make them and sell them as real diamonds? Folks, the diamonds are finished. They are done. You understand? Done. Okay? They're finished. Because you could buy equipment to make these stones for about $40,000. And you can make your money back on one stone. Now, I don't think they could make some of the very rare colored diamonds in substantial size. The equipment, if you want to make, maybe up to 1 carat stone, it's 40,000. If you wanted to make a diamond that was, 3.5 carats, you'd probably have to get in equipment for $100,000 or $200,000, something like that, And then you need a facility to build it. They don't turn them out in a few minutes. They take, they could take weeks and weeks to make and stuff like that. But the diamond business deserves to go bust. It was the De Beers family that hyped it up. It's just a garbage scam. The only diamonds that are really anything worthwhile are the very rare colored stones in substantial size. The rich people know that and they will buy those. The other thing you can probably get away with is in the 1800s, the diamond cutters made cuts on diamonds that were very, very good diamonds. They made cuts on diamonds that were different than the way they cut them today. And these things will be generally in an antique mounting for a ring, a necklace, a bracelet, or a brooch or something. And you could tell, they could tell what a real antique, ring or brooch looks like, and with the cut, and they could estimate how long the thing's been inside the mounting, and things like that. That you could probably sell to a small amount of people that may want to buy stuff like that are interested in that. But the diamonds are gone. Do they have rubies, emeralds, and sapphires? Sapphires are blue, rubies are red, emeralds are green. Do they have those that can be synthetic and not told apart? Yes and no. They're very inexpensive. You can buy some that will appear to be a perfect emerald, or you could buy some that appear to be a perfect ruby or a sapphire, and the dealers see that and they know that it's not real. But if you get one that has occlusions in it that's not perfect, but of a high grade, I'm not so sure they can tell. Let's see. Let's look this up in Google and see. I don't think this capability exists. Let's try an emerald. And undetectable are synthetic emeralds not detectable? Let's see what we get. It says that natural emeralds almost always have occlusions. So I know going back 25 years ago, you could get synthetic emeralds, rubies, and sapphires with occlusions in them. Uh, I don't think they can detect. I think what the jewelers do is they size the seller up to see if it's real or not. So this means these crooked jewelers in other countries could be making synthetic emeralds, rubies, and sapphires and putting them in the market as if they're real. Yeah, they're just the jeweler is going to look at you. If you're in Beverly Hills and you've been going to 2 or 3 different jewelry stores over the last 10 years and you've been buying jewelry for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you come in with a ring which has a 5-carat ruby in it, and you tell the guy you want to get rid of it, what's the deal? And he sees it has some occlusions, but it's a rather high grade ruby and it's cut rather well. That's another way they'll tell how well is it cut. they might fall for it. And then it'll be passed on to the others. Now, they got to send it in for a certification and it gets inspected and tested. Maybe they can pick it up there. Let's try this another way. Hold on. Is there a test for synthetic emeralds? They're implying that you could do it, but you need lab equipment, but they're not telling you that what the lab equipment is. I don't think it's real. I don't think they have a good test for it. I'm not sure they can tell. And then what does the test do to the actual? They're not saying they have a test. People are saying, well, if you don't send it to a lab, you got to look at the occlusions. Well, that means to me they don't have a test. If it doesn't exist for emeralds, it's the same for rubies and sapphires, I'm sure, and other stones that are usually not as expensive. So the whole thing with the precious stones is garbage. Okay. Years ago, they came in the 90s, they came out with what was called moissanite. And moissanite appeared to be, it was really a diamond, and it appeared to be a real diamond under a microscope or a loupe. But most of them were perfect stones. Some of them were even colored like amber and green, yellows and greens, and I think even reds and stuff. And they well, the jewelers got ripped off early on with them because they thought they were really high grade stones. And then the moissanite people that made moissanite came out selling $2,000 moissanite detectors to the pawn shops and the jewelry stores so they wouldn't get fooled. So they made a ton of money on selling moissanite detectors. And they started putting these little microscopic laser markings inside the stone that it was a moissanite with a serial number or something like that, right? So, but the moissanite was nowhere near what they have today with the latest synthetic lab-grown diamonds. You could have different degrees. So you don't have to have a perfect stone. You could have a stone that has some flaws in it, but is high rated. So it's really it's gold and silver. Paper money is a joke. Stocks, bonds, futures, paper gold, all garbage. It's hard metal is the only thing that's going to hold up, and that'll hold up. Jewelry is always worth something, okay, but not a lot. You know, it's overinflated, like the wristwatch market. Now they got watches for $2-3 million for a wristwatch. It's insane. It's just stupid, you know. It's really stupid. People buy cars, sports cars, for over $1 million all the time. Rare models, new ones, Bugattis and others. You know, a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, I think they start around $250,000. The good models, convertibles and stuff, there, I think the SUVs, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. People keep buying them. You know, 25% tariffs not going to stop most of these people. They don't care. The ones that are going to get stopped by the tariffs are the Louis Vuitton, the Hermes, Carolyn Herrera, Hugo Boss, Tom Ford, all that stuff that gets imported into America is going to get hit with high tariffs. And if Europe gets to 25%, then they'll get that. And somebody I know in San Francisco, going back 40 in the 1980s, every secretary in downtown San Francisco had a Louis Vuitton purse, and they were probably $400, $500, $600 back then. Well, they all carried their purse, proudly. What the secretaries used to do is they would go to work with their work clothes on, and they'd put running shoes on. And then they would get into the office and change out of their running shoes into work shoes. And then back when they went home, and they all carried the purse. This is before people had cell phones even, Today, those purses it still goes on. And the purses are generally made out of canvas with Louis Vuitton, not even leather. And those things are probably 1,800 or 1,500 or 2,300 or something like that. And they still buy them. People that can't afford them buy them, I don't know. That now that's what they can afford. The high-end Hermes that, or even high-end Louis Vuitton, they go 20, 30, 40, 50,000 or $100,000 even, and more. They go higher. And they use, exotic leathers and stuff like that, but they have no use value that justifies the price, There's a lot of people out there that are fine craftsmen that make fine purses and bags and stuff like that out of leather and really good goods. And probably a few $100, $300, $400, $500, $600 at most, I guess. And you'd have a purse that would look reasonably good. It wouldn't have the logos or the exact styles of the high-end designer bags like Chanel and stuff, but it would have use value, So, but that's not what people are looking for. People are looking for, look at me, I got this killer purse, Like you go out and buy a Patek Philippe, I mean, getting into anything with those is probably $30,000, $40,000 today. I had one I bought in the 90s when I was in the world making a lot of money, for me, a lot of money. And I think I paid about $6,000 or $8,000 for the thing. It was stainless steel. And it had the hour hands, the second hand, and it had the day of the week, and it had a gauge that would show you how much of a charge it had, because it was, a self-winding. And I thought it was highly accurate timepiece. I had other Patek Philippe's later on. I had an all gold one with a gold bracelet, and I paid $16,000 for that and sold it for $19,000 later on. I made a good hit on that one. They both were very skinny, thin, frail watches that if you walked by and banged it into a doorway or something by mistake, you might not have a watch anymore. That wasn't for me. They're one of the few highly accurate timepieces that the high-end designer brands sell. The Rolexes are, generally speaking, very accurate. I bought some Audemars Piguet watches years ago, and they're pieces of crap. They don't keep time. I'm not kidding you. They don't keep time. Richard Mille watches, which could be $1 million, they don't keep time. As far as I know, they're garbage. People buy them like somebody buys a Chanel purse for $40,000. It has no use value. It's just, hey, look at me, I got a Chanel purse. Hey, look at me, I got an expensive Richard Mille watch. They're pieces of crap. You can buy a Casio for probably 50, 60, $70. You got to make sure they're not counterfeit. If you buy one from Amazon, you got to make sure it ships from Amazon. If it ships from the seller, they're probably selling you a counterfeit. And they used to make them, I don't know if they still do, with a 7-year battery. And these things are dead on spot accurate. You push a button, they light up at night. They have more features than the expensive one, so the watches have no value other than, look at me, I have this, right? That's all it is. That's all it is. Chanel sells sunglasses for thousands of dollars, and the lenses aren't any good. They're not anywhere near as good as Oakley or Wiley X or some of the good brands. They got the same quality lenses you probably get in a $35, $40 pair of sunglasses. Not a $5 pair. They don't go that bad, but and people buy it, and they're not made out of solid gold or anything like that. You could go on eBay and buy old eyeglass frames. They're usually round with thin wire things that loop around your ear. And you could buy those 10 karat gold filled, or even 10 karat gold for a song, and then just go to the optical place and have them put them in. People don't know about that. That's why it goes on. It's funny. If you go back 30, 40 years, you used to see, I'm old, you used to see solid gold frames in stores. They had, I think they were 12 karat, 14 karat, not 18, that's too soft. Solid gold, they were very thin. They were, I guess they were about $150, $200. Not a lot. Gold was not a high expensive item back then. And, some people bought them. I don't think they ever caught on very much. What they would do is heavily plate frames with a base metal with a lot of gold, layer after layer after layer, and call it gold filled. And that would last you for a long time. But I understand the premium for metal in frames is titanium, because you can mold and bend it around. But the plastic ones also do it. If you want to change the shape of your, you want to adjust your frames out of plastic, it's really not hard. You just take your frame and take a pot of water and boil the water, let it stop boiling. It was just quite hot, and stick one of the earpieces, the side pieces, in there for 5, 10, 15 seconds, not longer than that, maybe 5 seconds, and you should be able to bend them pretty easily. And then when they cool, they keep their place. You put them on a flat table and make sure each earpiece is level, and then flip it upside down and make sure the earpieces are level. They don't rock around, and you'll have it. So the world is full of all this craziness with cars, with clothing, expensive design. You could buy blue jeans in Japan for $2,000. They make the denim like Levi made it in the 1940s and 30s and stuff. I have some Levi's that go back to about 2010, 2012. They were rather expensive Levi's back then. They were Levi's finest. I think they were $60 or something back then. And the denim in that doesn't feel anything like the modern day denim. And that's not that old. I have a few pair of those I bought years ago. They're pretty darn good, but you don't want to wear them in a hot climate because they got a lot more denim and thicker denim in them than the new thin stuff today. So the thin stuff is actually better if you live in Israel. But the people are crazy with this designer stuff. The shoes. Louis Vuitton will sell you a pair of flip-flops, which cost $2 in the store, for probably $600. Are they as good as $2 flip-flops? No, they're probably as good as $10 flip-flops. But they got Louis Vuitton on them. What value is that? You know, not much. They do everything like that. You know, their stores are set up like a museum. They put the inventory in a display case like something's displayed in a museum. And they have special designers that set up these high-end stores to make them like a shrine, you know, or a museum or whatever you want to look at, you know, and they revere these things, you know. And then there's always a shortage of these. Oh, this is the last one. Oh, you better buy it or the next person will, and this and that. And people just get infatuated with it and they start collecting it. But the phenomenon with the purses costing as much as a nice SUV is insane. But when I saw a video of the head of Hamas that we killed running in the tunnel with his wife was running in the tunnel with him, and she was holding a Chanel purse that was $30,000 or $50,000 in the tunnel, wearing a black Islamic, you know, whatever you want to call it, dress over her, running around with the Chanel purse. It was ridiculous. What is she schlepping a super expensive purse through the tunnels? It's unbelievable. Let's see what's going on here in the chat. I have a Samsung phone. I hate it. Yeah, the old Samsungs were great, but the new ones are not that good. The Iranian facility is essentially an air base. They have large hangar doors and multiple openings. Yeah, that's true. The one thing I didn't bring out is Iran has underground air bases, and they're down pretty far. I don't think they build them in the side of a mountain because they have to access a runway. But if I remember correctly, they get down about 600 feet. So they have an opening and they have a ramp, and they park a lot of planes inside this thing, which is heavily reinforced with a lot of heavy, thick concrete and all that sorts of stuff. And when they want to bring the planes out, they take them to the opening and they drive them up the ramp, and then they go out on a runway and take off. So those could be disabled because you could blow the runways up, right? You could blow the entrances up. But they don't have much of an air force anyway. A lot of the underground stuff is in China. I expect it is. Yeah, someone says the apparel is all synthetics and plastic. It is. It's junk. You go to the store, you see the shirts they sell now for men's shirts. You could hold it up to the light and you see light through it. They don't even put any fabric inside it. Everything with the manufacturers is about ripping off the consumer. When I grew up, in the 50s, people sold things based on quality. You bought a sofa or a chair and you'd get 30, 40, 50 years out of it, okay? You'd buy silverware that wasn't made out of pure silver and it would last you your lifetime, okay? My father had an electric drill probably for 60, 70 years. He had an electricity meter for 50, 60, 70 years. This is the way things were. I had a box fan where it was all metal. And I remember my parents must have had that 25, 30 years, one fan. If I get 3, 4 years out of a fan today, I'm happy. I usually don't get that much. Sometimes I do. And they have plastic blades usually. And they don't work anywhere near as good as the old fans did. We used to, when I was a kid, you go to Florsheim or someplace and you could buy a pair of Florsheim Imperial wingtip brogues, whatever they called them. You had a thick leather sole, you had a rubber heel for grip, you had leather lining, you had good shoelaces, and they were, I don't know, they were $50, $60, $70, depending what year it was. Probably in the 50s, they were $30. And you could bring them in and get them resoled and reheeled 2 times, 3 times, wear them for year after year. I used to buy things like that, and I would put the wax shoe polish on them when I was in New York, like 2 or 3 layers of it, put the shoe polish on, buff it out, put it on again and again, and it would give you a reasonably decent degree of water repellency. You had really good shoes. Now they give you plastic shoes. Your shoes are made out of plastic. You could still get real wood shoes, but they're not easily found, but they do exist, Yeah, it's just coats are made out of synthetics mostly. Everything is junk, But, Craftsman tools with Sears, they had quality. They gave you a lifetime guarantee. They made tools that were meant to last. My father had tools that, he probably had for 60 years, and they kept working. Pliers, monkey wrenches, screwdrivers. You can't buy tools like that easily today or at all. They don't sell things on pride and quality of the goods. Manufacturers used to make goods and people would trust the brand. So you want good tools, buy Craftsman, No, they go to Walmart and they buy junk from Beijing that falls apart in a year or 2, but it's cheap while it lasts, but it doesn't last long. But while it lasts, it's pretty cheap. Trump is taking the tariffs off computers, tablets, and smartphones, by the way, for some reason. No, this designer stuff, do they have good quality? They do. But you know what they do? They hire foreign workers and bring them to like Italy and treat them like animals, like slaves, really. And the SBOTs that buy these purses for $30,000 and $80,000, and they don't mind that. They're Satan bots. They think it's great to have people that are you treating like slaves. The other thing they do is they send their products to China to be basically assembled in components. Then China ships it to them in Italy, let's say, or France, and then they assemble it in Italy or France, and then they put the made in France or made in Italy on it. That's where a lot of these designer goods come from. So they do it that way, right? And the people fall for it. They do use good goods. They do have decent construction and stuff like that, but they're so overpriced. I mean, people are paying $50,000, $100,000 for a purse, where if you went to a craftsman, just a guy that makes purses in Italy or France that knows what he's doing and has fine leather and everything else, you might, if you wanted to get it made out of ostrich and this and that, your $80,000 or $100,000 purse, he might charge you $3,500 or $4,500 for it, and it would be a far better quality across the board. But it wouldn't be their design, and it wouldn't say the name of the designer on it, That's the way they do it. Rather stupid, but that's what they do. And the people buy it because they got so much money, they don't know what to do with it. The rich, the elite, the Satanists, loaded with money. Everybody else is struggling. They're swimming with money. They don't know what to do with all the money. They got so much money. So they buy junk like this. Cars for $500,000, wristwatches for $500,000 or 100,000, crazy prices for sicko jewelry, and what are they, houses for multi-millions. It's I know somebody that bought a house in New Jersey, and in a period of maybe a year, it went up. I mean, the house was less than $1 million, 700,000 or 800,000, and it went up $500,000 in less than a year, I think. So they're selling it. That's crazy. And what they're doing is they're staying with people until the prices drop, and then they're going to try to buy an equivalent house back or something like that. It's just nuts, But there's so many people in the United States that are hurting for money. And as long as you keep having Satanists in the governments all around the world, this is never going to stop. That's Satan's big attraction. Serve me, spend eternity in the lake of fire, but for the few decades you're here as an adult, you have plenty of money. And to these people, since they're blind, they think it's a good deal, and they wake up and they don't know what happens to them. They're in the pit, then they're in the lake of fire after the judgment. They don't understand that. They don't get it. They don't get it. They don't believe. Many are called, but few are chosen. So the churches are full of people that hear the call, but they're not chosen. They follow another gospel. They got another Jesus. They got another this, another that. And the Jewish rabbinical system is the same way. But God blinded the eyes of the Jews and stopped up their ears. It's so written in the scriptures. So that's why this is happening to them. But the others don't have that excuse. They're just not called. The punishment of Hosea 6:1 and 2 for 2,000 years approximately is over. And it's changing. But it hasn't changed yet. Now I have another scripture for you. I started out. 2 Peter 5:4. Where's my Bible? It's right here. No, that's not my Bible. Where did it go? There you are. 2 Peter 5:4. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, that's Yeshua, the chief shepherd, right? That's not hard to understand. Shall appear. Now that word is Strong's number 5319. To bring to light, to set in a clear light, to manifest, to display. Okay, that's not the return to earth. The church never differentiates this. Let me now jump over to Matthew 24:30 and read this to you. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. That's actually saying the tribes of the land of Israel mourn. That's Zechariah 12, starting in verse 10. They shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. But that's not the returning to earth. That's appearing in the sky, seated at the right hand of power, which is Father God Jehovah. Why would that be? Psalm 110:1. The Lord said to my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. Yeshua's enemies are not yet his footstool, so he's still at the right hand. So that both of them appear. Where else do we get more confirmation on this? In I'm not going to go through every one of the scriptures. Revelation 1:7. There we are here. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. That's coming right out of Zechariah 12:10. They shall look upon the one they have pierced. It's right out of there. And all kindreds, all tribes of the earth, of the land, ha'eretz, it can mean earth, it can mean the land, shall wail, that's mourning, they wail, because of him, even so, amen. This is all never taught by the church. And this could happen today, tomorrow, it probably won't for a few days or weeks or something, but it's not going to be years. And they get everlasting life, John 6:40. And they don't teach this. It's sick. And here it is right in, what was it, 1 Peter 5:4. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, you shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away. All right. Now we need to explain this. Does that mean there's some guys handing out 18 karat or 24 karat gold crowns and you're going to run? Or what does it mean? All right. Let's break the words down. Let's not trust the English translations. They all stink. Let's go into this. Okay. The word for crown is Strong's number Greek 4735. That which forms an encirclement or a crown or a wreath. It also could mean honor and glory. And let's see how Strong's deals with this. From an apparent primary, stepho, that's the Greek, to twine or wreather, a chaplet, a badge of royalty. I like that one. A prize in the public games, or a symbol of honor, generally, but more conspicuous and elaborate than the simple. So it's a sign of honor. And where do we see this coming up on us? Very shortly, but in Isaiah 60, verse 1. Arise, shine. Now, what does that word shine mean? It's Hebrew's Strong's number 215, or to be or become light. To shine like the sun, become bright, to be illuminated, to become lighted up, to be luminous, to have light come out from you. Where is this coming from? It's coming from Moses and the veil. What did they do? They put a veil over his face when he came down from Mount Sinai, and he was with who I think is the glory of God of Israel on Mount Sinai. He was glowing. So they put a veil over him. And then the veil will be removed. And when the veil's removed, the Israelites also glow. It's beautiful. They will emanate forth light. That's the crown. Let's keep reading that verse. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. He's giving you the sign of glory, but it also means the glory of the Lord is Michael, the angel that was with Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. In Exodus 23, verse 20, God put his name Yehovah, Yud He Vav He, inside him so he could receive offerings, I assume, in the name of Jehovah, because now he has the name Jehovah also. So a lot of scriptures are hard for the church world to understand because they don't know the difference between the glory of God of Israel. They don't know who that is. The Jews know, but they don't know. Is risen upon thee, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But Jehovah shall arise upon thee. That's the glory of God of Israel, using the name Jehovah, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Now, the glory seen upon thee is the word kabod, which could mean light emanating forth from you, the crown. And the goyim shall come to thy light. So the Israelites are going to have this light. See, the belief system of the church world is so different than what's really going to happen. They're going to go into shock any day now. They really are. And kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thy eyes round about and see, all they gather themselves together. They come to thee, thy sons shall come from afar, and thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. Now, I can tell you what this means, but most of you aren't going to believe me. These are the dry bones, the Israelites, that come up from the pit that Yeshua preached to in the 3 days he went in the earth. They come back to Israel in Ezekiel 37. They come to Israel. They get a flesh body. They got cartilage and skin and bones, and they come to Israel. And it's their sons and daughters, you might want to add in many generations removed, maybe 50 generations in some cases or more, okay, are coming to them. This is the great Exodus and the dry bones. They never teach this. What do they teach about this? The hip bone connected to the thigh bone connected to this bone and to that bone. Oh, nonsense. Then thou shalt see and flow together. I'm a bad singer, huh? Then thou shalt see and flow together, and thy heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces, the wealth of the goyim shall come unto thee. The multitude of camels shall cover thee. Now, you got to remember now, this is not a joke. It's to come soon. They got a double hump camel and a single hump camel. The double hump can go further without water than the regular one, and it's a better choice. It's like the difference between maybe a Cadillac and a Chevy, okay? Double humper, okay. And the dromedaries of Midian, that's a type of camel. I guess one's a 2-humper, one's a 1-humper. And Ephah, all they from Sheba, that's Saudi, shall come. They race camels in Saudi. They could outrun a racehorse. And they outdistance it by a long shot. And they are monsters fighting a predator, a mountain lion or something tries to mess with a camel. What that guy's going to do is pick him up with his very strong mouth and neck, shake him, and then treat him to a couple of kicks from his feet that are going to be, the hoof is going to be hard as steel and about that big. And he ain't going to survive that. If you've ever seen a mule trash a mountain lion, a camel is going to be more devastating. I've seen video of a camel picking a guy up by the shoulder and flinging him like a rag doll. I mean, if the camel wants to grab a 125-pound mountain lion and fling him into a rock or off a cliff, off he goes. Then when the mountain lion's stunned and he starts getting stomped on, 2-3 stomps, he's adios. And if people get him mad, what they'll often do is spit at you. They won't normally attack you. They'll spit at you. So you want to make friends with your camel. And that's not hard to do. You know how to make friends with dogs and cats. How hard would it be to make friends with a camel? Not very hard. All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto thee, the rams of these are the fine agricultural animals, shall minister unto thee. Now, dwell on the animals ministering unto you. Do they talk again like they used to in the Garden of Eden? How do they minister to you? Do parrots talk? Yeah. Do they know what they're saying? Yeah. Can they recognize colors? Yeah. They've even taught them basic arithmetic. Yeah. My parrots tease the dogs and call them. Sometimes they do it in my voice or my wife's voice. After dozens and dozens of tricking the dogs learn to ignore it. They shall come up with acceptance on my altar. That's the sacrificial animals. Of course, church thinks the Lord's done away with. And I will glorify the house of my glory. That's because the glory of God of Israel lives in there. It's a glorified house. It comes down from heaven. In Ezekiel 37, the second verse from the end, says God puts this temple in the midst of Israel, which the middle of the midst of Israel is Jerusalem. Who are these that fly as clouds and as the doves to their windows? Oh, the angels. Oh, so they're windows. So let's see. Now the angels are living on earth and have houses or apartments or condos or townhouses with windows? I don't think he would refer to the angels as anything but an angel, or maybe messenger from heaven or something, but that's not the meaning of this scripture. So you better understand what it means to have everlasting life, because that could happen next week or this week. Zechariah 12:10, read it, the siege against Israel. We're in siege now. Lebanon, Gaza, Egypt with over 100,000 troops in our border, Yemen shooting at us every day, Syria getting ready to shoot at us, and Jordan. Syria and Jordan is still up in the air, Iraq and Iran. Okay? Zechariah 12, Jacob's trouble. That's what it is. Great is Jacob's trouble, he will be saved out of it. It's not Gog and Magog. So who are these people? Are those with the everlasting life? Ask the Lord. If I tell you, you're probably not going to believe me. Ask Jehovah in the name of Yeshua what this means. Why not? I think it's the people that have the everlasting life. Surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from far, their silver and their gold with them. So when you leave, it's going to be like when they left Egypt. You're going to go with silver and gold. Unto the name of Jehovah Elohim, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he hath glorified thee. Arise, shine, your light has come. You're emanating forth light. This is the real gospel right out of your Bible, not the crap that's coming out of the church buildings. This is the real gospel. It's in your Bible. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls. Their kings shall minister unto thee. The nations get destroyed, but the people survive. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor I have had mercy on thee. How sweet it is, any day now. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the heathen, and that their kings may be brought. Now, why would the gates not shut at night? because the glory of God emanates forth light out of the next temple like crazy all the time. Yeah. When 1 John 3:2, when you see him, you will be like him. Well, then that means you're going to see the risen Christ, the glorified Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach. You think he goes to sleep now? I don't. I think he did when he was on earth before he rose from the dead, but I'm quite certain of that. It's in the scriptures, but I don't think he sleeps anymore. So who is flying to the windows like the dove and who's not sleeping at night? Because operations are going on as per normal in the temple at night and in Jerusalem. Does it impress you as those with everlasting life yet? For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. That's us being the head of the nations. These nations shall be utterly wasted. Jeremiah 30:11. I will destroy all the nations I scattered you into. It's right there. Isaiah 60, verse 12. The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree and the pine tree and the box together, to beautify the place of my temple. And I will make the place of my feet glorious. That's the next temple in Ezekiel 37 that he places here in Jerusalem. And we use these beautiful woods to glorify the area around it. It will have a fence around it. And the fence will have 12 gates, one for each tribe of Israel. So there's no Baptist gate, and there's no Assembly of God's gate or Lutheran gate or Catholic gate. So if you're not in Israel, and all Israel will be saved, and Yeshua refers to the true believers as his brethren, you'll be merged into one of the tribes. Read Ezekiel 47, the last 3 verses, when you come to Israel as a true believer, and that's the gate you will go through. It's also the same with New Jerusalem. Read is Revelation 21. Whew. Now I'm on 14. The sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and all they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet, and they shall call thee the city of Jehovah, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel. The Zion. Is the glory of God of Israel the Holy One of Israel? Yeah, because Jehovah is the God of Israel. And Yeshua is the Messiah, and he's the King of Israel. The Holy One is the glory of God of Israel, Michael, the angel, that he put his name in. Whereas thou hast been, read the book of Acts 7, verse 55, about the glory of God of Israel. You'll see he's up in heaven. Read it. Whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through thee, I will make thee an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. Thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles. Don't take that literally. It's quite gross. It's a figurative, situation, right? It's not literal, please. And shall suck the breast of kings. Please, it's an allegory, not a literal. And thou shalt know that I, Jehovah, am thy Savior. And what is the word for Savior? But Yasha, the root word of Yeshua. It means salvation. It means I am thy salvation. And thy Redeemer. Think year of redemption. The mighty one of Yaakov. Yaakov is the 12 tribes. For brass I will bring gold, and for iron I will bring silver, and for wood brass, and for stones iron. I will also make thy officers peace, shalom, and thy exactors righteous. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation. The word here is not what I would use for salvation. I would write Yeshua because that's the actual text in the Hebrew. Thy walls, Yeshua. I have no trouble calling the walls Yeshua. Do you? To glorify Yeshua only, and thy gates praise. And I think the walls are the walls around the temple he's talking about. Maybe around Jerusalem, or both. I don't know. The sun shall be no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee. But Jehovah shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thy God thy glory. That Jehovah is the glory of God of Israel, emanating forth light by the temple. So now you're going to tell me that he has it lit up by night and by day, and we're still going to sleep in the light. I don't think so. I think we don't sleep anymore. Thy sun shall no more go down, neither shall the moon withdraw itself, for Jehovah shall be thy everlasting life, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. That's the Zechariah 12 to verse 14 morning. Zechariah 12:10 to verse 14. Really, it starts in 11, verse 11. Isaiah 60:21. Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. Everlasting life forever. Oh, how about that? The word forever here is olam, which is the same word for everlasting life, off on into the future, an indefinite period of time. It's not immortality. A child shall die 100. My people's days shall be like that of a tree. Trees are a few thousand years, maybe. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, Jehovah, will hasten it in this time. So maybe the gestation period for people is not going to be 9 months. I don't know that, but it's hasten it. What if gestation and the birth pangs don't happen anymore? Birth is not very painful. And what if it only took 3 months or something, how we could reproduce? I don't know, but I get the idea. Buying a big storehouse full of diapers is not a bad idea, just talking in a comical way here. So now you had a taste of the true gospel. I sucked you in with the war, and now you heard the true gospel. But let me tell you the downside to the churches. And it's very grave. Right out of your Bible, Galatians 5:19 to 21. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, no; fornication, no; uncleanness, they don't know what that is; lasciviousness, that's like porn and strip joints; petting, things like that; idolatry, they don't have a great understanding of that. The crosses is idolatry, but they don't get it. Where did they ever put crosses in the church or on their Bibles or wear them in the Bible? Never. Witchcraft, hatred, variance. What is variance? Variance, the example here, means having different doctrinal statements like pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, pray in tongues, don't pray in tongues, baptized with sprinkling, baptized by immersion, and so forth. House churches, building churches, denominational, non-denominational. They all have different doctrines. That's variance. Makes sense? Emulations, wrath, strife. They have strife. They fight amongst each other, but they don't go kill each other, Seditions, that word means divisions. Look it up in a Webster's dictionary online. That means it's a denomination is a division, and it has variance. They all have different doctrinal statements. Pay attention. Heresies, that's related to, that's like sects and cults, and that's what denominations are. envyings, murders. So denominations and different doctrinal statements are right up there with murder and drunkenness and revelings. Revelings like wild parties and such like of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. So I'm telling you, your own Bible in the New Testament tells you that if you're going to go do this denominational tap dance with the churches with different doctrinal statements, you ain't going to make it. That's what your Bible says. Reject me. What did Yeshua say? Reject knowledge and I will reject you. You're not rejecting me. You're rejecting the scriptures I read you. Don't think you're rejecting me. You're rejecting the scriptures. Didn't Yeshua say, I'm coming back for a church without spot, wrinkle, or blemish? What are you going to tell me? We're not perfect. Why should the church not be perfect? Because this is what the written word is, and you're trying to make God a liar if you're telling me that this isn't going to come true. Why are you hearing this from me and you're not hearing it from others? I'll tell you why. And a lot of you are going to get very mad at me and angry and upset and run away from me. And that's fine, because there's going to be one of you out there that's going to get the truth or more. Straight and narrow is the way, and few be to find it. Malachi 2, verse 1. And now, O you priests, Kohanim, as you know, I'm a Kohanim, I'm a descendant of Aaron. We've passed this on with the Jews generation to generation. At the 8th day, when they did my circumcision, the rabbis would not take money from my father to redeem the firstborn son, because he's a Kohanim over the rabbis, and the rabbis wouldn't take money. And this also passes on with weddings, funerals, bar mitzvahs. When my father died, I went to go be a pallbearer for the casket, and the rabbi said to me, "Stop it at you." He said, no, what he said was, "I wouldn't do that if I were you." He got really animated because he knew my father was a Cohen, which means I'm a Cohen, which means a priest or a descendant of Aaron. We're also Levites as well. Not all Levites are descendants of Aaron, but all Kohanim are descendants of Aaron, and we're also Levites. Okay. So he said this commandment, and the word for commandment is mitzvah. That's the same thing as in the Torah and the law. They're mitzvahs. It's a good deed if you do it. And I guess in Yiddish, they say it's a shanda. If you don't, it's a shame. I don't know the Hebrew word for shanda. It's a curse. I don't want to get into that. Okay. If you will not, I don't know the exact word. Okay. If you will not hear and you will not lay it to heart to give glory unto my name, saith Jehovah of hosts, I will even send a curse upon you, and I will curse your blessings. Yea, I have cursed them already, because you do not lay it to heart. Behold, I will corrupt your seed and spread dung upon your faces, even the dung of your solemn feasts, and one shall take you away with it. And you shall know that I have sent this commandment unto you, that my covenant. Now, your own Bible is telling you God has a covenant here, might be with Levi, with the Levites, saith Jehovah of hosts. So there's a covenant with the Levites. Oh, my covenant was with him of life and peace, and I gave them to him for the fear wherewith he feared me, and was afraid before my name. The law, that word is Torah, the Torah of truth, be'emet, Torah be'emet, the law in truth. You could say of truth. I would say in truth. I think it just says Torah Emet, which law of truth. Hebrew doesn't go into English so great. It's choppy. Okay, was in his mouth, in the mouth, okay, of the, all right. And lawlessness was not found in his lips. He walked with me in shalom and peace and equity, and did turn many away from lawlessness. This is the Levites. For the Kohanim's lips. Now, the Kohanim, the descendant of Aaron, is higher than the Levites in the scheme of things in the law, okay? They're over the Levites. They teach the Levites typically and stuff, and they lead them. For the Kohanim's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the Torah at his mouth. For he is the Malach, the messenger of Jehovah of hosts. Who is the messenger of Jehovah of hosts? The Kohanim, the descendants of Aaron. And the people should seek the law at his mouth. I am a Kohanim, I am saved, I am baptized in the Holy Spirit, I pray in tongues, and I live in Israel where God says he will accept you in Ezekiel 20, starting in verse 33. This is the land he accepts you in. The covenant, they broke the covenant is still there, and I'm walking in that covenant. Now, let's read this again, and I'm going to talk to you about Elijah. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth, for he is the Malach, or the messenger of Jehovah of hosts. Now, I'll teach you stuff the church would croak if they even understood. Malachi 3:1, the next chapter. Behold, I will send my Malach, my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. Isn't that Elijah's job? Yeah, how about that? And Adonai, that's Lord in the soft way, maybe, whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple. That's the glory of God of Israel. And now it switches. It says, they say even the Malach. It doesn't say that. It has one word in the Hebrew, Malach. So it doesn't say even the Malach. It's saying messenger of the covenant, the Jews of the Torah. No, the Brit, the covenant, not the Torah. Whom Malach of the covenant, what covenant do you think he might be talking about? Maybe the New Testament with Yeshua as a Messiah, just maybe. Light in, because the Jews believe Elijah is going to come teach them the law. He will. And you better believe it's going to start with who Yeshua is, right? He shall come, saith, and that doesn't say, well, he shall come. He shall come, saith the Lord. Like, think of Charleston Heston of the NRA. Before he was head of the NRA, he was Moses. I'm trying to be funny. Let my people go. It's that type of thing, a declarative. Saith Jehovah of hosts. But who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall abide, shall stand when he appeareth? See, this is why I'm telling you Elijah's got to be a cone, because you're going to see him training the Levites here in a minute. But who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, like a fuller's soap. He shall sit and refine, and he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi. He's got to be a cone to purify or teach the Levites, right? That's the way it's set up. And purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness. Boom! Now the blessings of the Lord come on Israel. Boom! And I think this is when we'll see the appearing of the Son of Man. Maybe, maybe not. Then shall the offerings of Judah and Jerusalem, that's who's here now, the 10 tribes are not yet back. That's why he's calling it Judah and Jerusalem. Israel, the 10 tribes, is not here. And we don't have all the land back. Be blessed unto Jehovah as in the days of old, as in the former years. And I will come near to you to judgment. That's the 2/3 getting cut off. That's in Zechariah 13, which continues right after 12. There's no interruption. Verses 8 and 9. And it shall come to pass that in all the lands, saith Jehovah, 2 parts, 2/3, therein shall be cut off and die. That's dead, like, right? But the 1/3 shall be left therein, and I will bring the 1/3 part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. Do you think maybe Elijah's doing this? And I will try them as gold is tried, and they shall call on my name. The rabbis teach the people they can't pronounce the name of Jehovah. It's a sin. They're blotting his name out, but not with us. And it's not Yahweh, by the way. It's Jehovah. Yud-He, Vav-He. And I will hear them. I will say, it is my people. And they shall say, Jehovah Elohim. Jehovah is my God. And this is what the blessings are now acceptable to the Lord from the law, from the sacrifices and the offerings that the church tells you is done away with forever. Even though Yeshua in Matthew 5:17 said, think not that I came to destroy the law or the prophets, but to fulfill. For as long as there is a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle shall be done away with from the law. But they did away with it. The Lord don't want you in those places if you're his. If you're not his, so be it. Back to Malachi 3, I think. I was in verse 5. Now I'm in, where am I now? So he's saying, and I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers and against the adulterers and against the false swearers and against those that oppress the hirelings in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right. And fear not me, saith Jehovah of hosts, for Ani Jehovah, I am Jehovah. I change not, therefore you sons of Yaakov are not consumed. Well, I think I gave you enough. If you have questions about me, take it to Jehovah and Yeshua. Those are my references. I invite all of you to throw the demons out of me. I don't have any demons, but I invite you to. You have my full permission anytime to throw demons out of me. In the name of Yeshua, I don't mind, because I have no demons. Do you hear other people on the internet talk like me? Ask yourself why. Ask yourself what's going on. I'm giving you everything right out of your own Bible. Go to Jehovah. Go to Yeshua. Ask him. So my tooth is getting somewhat better, or there's gum or the nerve, whatever the heck it is. So please keep praying for my tooth, gum, and the nerve, whatever it is, to get healed so I can work more effectively without pain. It's nice. And pray for me and my wife for peace, safety, protection, joy, and healing of our bodies, and pray for our finances, and pray for our animals and pets, which are all rescues, to be happy, healthy, and whole. The Lord showed me how to use zip ties to keep Beulah from jumping, and so far so good. It's working. Praise God. Thank you for the prayers. I think it was 3 or 4 zip ties that did it. And I happen to have an abundance of zip ties laying around for some reason. How about that? So I'm happy, and she's becoming a nicer dog because she knows she's bad when she jumps out and she gets a guilty conscience. Thank you for all the prayers, and I sure threw enough stuff at you today, didn't I? And some of you came here not knowing what the Lord had for you today, did you? Galatians 5:19-21, your eternity revolves around that. Let me see if I have questions in the live stream, which I will answer if I can. I am convinced we wouldn't have so many divisions and denominations if believers simply used context, defined the terms, and understood the true purpose of God's Torah. Yeah, you got a good point. So you came here to hear war talk, and you got a good mouthful of war talk. I think my intel on war talk is pretty darn good for the internet anyway. I don't seek, secret documents from the governments, but I do get insights from the Lord. And this war is going to go down. It's just a question who pulls the trigger first. Israel, Trump, Iran, I don't know. It's going to happen. It'll happen soon. And that's what I got for today. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. Pray for me to get my equipment working better too. And thank you for all the prayers. And I am out. I'm going to go eat and hope my teeth hold up.